How's it going, gamer? You got hands here, and today in Dauntless we're going over status effects and how to get rid of them or how to deal with them. There's a lot of different effects that different behemoths can do to you, and some of them are pretty intense and some of them aren't too shabby, and the game doesn't really tell you how to get rid of them. But in this video we're going to tell you every little thing you got to do on to get rid of the status effect or just how to deal with it. Carabak has a unique status effect that he puts upon us once he lays down his tail and he puts out his swarm of insects. If you touch it, you get this status effect called Swarm, which affects a very small amount of damage over time, and it also interferes with sprinting and attacking. If you simply attack the swarm, it'll disperse the bees off of you. Also, you can attack your fellow teammate, so you can take off the swarm effect off them as well. The swarm effect hinders your movement pretty significantly, so I wouldn't suggest wasting your time dodging or running around. Just attack and get it off of you as fast as possible, because it lasts a long time, as you can tell, if you don't react as soon as you should. Players can be blinded by behemoth radiant attacks or environmental effects. They're mostly commonly inflicted by Valamir and Rezakuri, and as you can see right there, Rezakuri does it when he changes maps if you don't kill him fast enough. He also does it when he's enraged and he does his beam super attack. He'll blind the entire playing field with a flash of light, and then it'll put you inside of his little dome where you have to shoot to get out of. There is no real way to work around the status effect, and there is no way to affect a behemoth with the blinded effect yet. So next we have the corrupted status effect. That's commonly inflicted by Shroud and sometimes Riftstalker. What it does is drain your health and your stamina over time for a long period of time until you attack the behemoth. So make sure if you get that effect to go hit the behemoth so you can get rid of it, because it hinders you pretty badly. And as you can see here, I'm just showing you how fast it's draining my life, and then once you hit them, it negates that effect and it goes away. The shock status effect is caused by shock attacks. This effect will electrify the target and prevent slayers from performing actions like using supplies, healing from aether vents, and reviving other slayers. As you can see on the bottom right screen, I'm trying to use tonics and it doesn't work. If I had a friend, I would try to revive them and that also wouldn't work. So the way to get around it is you can't, you just have to deal with it. It's pretty tough, but not too tough. Shock is also one of the status effects that can be applied to a behemoth. With enough damage with a shock weapon, what it does is it boops the behemoth like that and it shocks him, which gives you a little chance to do some extra damage. That's why shock weapons have a real nice buff to them. So we have shell shock status effect here. Quill shot and I think Skarn does it, but mostly quill shock, and what it does is prevent you from sprinting, and there is no way to get around it. You just have to get through it and try to prevent it. You could also use the shell shock resist cell in your armor, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's not really worth that cell slot when it's not really that bad of a status. Crippling wound is the more worse version of wound status. What it does is when you have the status effect on you, you take increased damage and you also have about 40% less stamina. But one tip to get rid of it is to stand still for a few seconds. I think it's actually 4 seconds exactly, and or heal. So if you heal yourself with a flask or tonic, or if you heal yourself with lifesteal, it'll take away the status effect wound or crippling wound. You could also use the bloodless cell to reduce your wounded status effect, but I wouldn't waste a cell slot on something like that unless you really need it. Next we have wound, which is the lesser version of crippling wound. What that does is you take more damage and your stamina costs are also increased, so try not to be dodging or using too much stamina. But it's the same way, you can stand still for a few seconds and it'll go away. Alright, so the on fire status effect is caused by blaze attacks or by walking inside the lava pools or fire trails left behind by behemoths. The effect, it ignites the slayer and dealing damage over time. You can reduce the duration of this effect if you roll about 4 times will get rid of the fire effect. Also, picking up molten hearts that Helion drops from his scales will negate the on fire effect. Remember, you can use molten in your build or a fireproof to negate that effect as well if you really need it. So the status effect on fire can also be applied to a behemoth. It's really nice and it does major blaze damage. I mean, you can see right there 173, 173, and I think it lasts for about 10 or 15 seconds. And that's applied by using any blaze weapon. It's a natural buff. Alright gamer, next we have Frozen. What that does is freeze you and makes you completely immobile, and you have to push dodge a whole bunch of times so you can escape. Remember, you can also hit your friend and knock him out of the ice block. And you do take increased damage while you're in frozen status if you get hit. So next we have Chilled. The Chilled status effect is caused by frost attacks. All this really does is slow your movement speed for a few seconds, and it's not that bad, but it can definitely hinder your movement when you really need to get going. So the only counter to this status effect is to use the Warmth cell. It's a defensive cell like the other ones. And also I would suggest not to waste a cell on something like that, but if you're making a situational build and you need it, go ahead and use it. And as you can see here, how it significantly slows you down just a tad while you're sprinting when you're chilled. It's not too bad, but it can hinder your movement. So the Chilled status effect can also be applied to behemoths. It works pretty great, but a lot of people don't like it because it changes the animation and movements of the behemoth. What it exactly does is it's a 30-second slow on all animations, which is a 25% longer animation for each movement. So it really hinders some people because they're used of the timing and the movement. So remember, if you use this, probably suggest to maybe be solo, but otherwise some people might have to deal with it, especially when you're dealing with a hard fire behemoth. So last we have the Terra status effect that's applied on behemoths. That comes from using Terra weapons, and it's really cool because it shoots out health orbs. And I'm getting hit so I can show you how much I'm getting healed, and it's really awesome because it tracks you and the fellow slayers across the hunting field. Alright gamer, that's all I got for you today. I really hope this build is helpful for you, especially if you didn't know some of this information, and hey, don't hesitate to share it and help your fellow slayers. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, comment down below, and hit that bell for notifications. This is Hans signing out. Peace!